What's up? This is MC Lars. You are listening to Journey into Comics. You!
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stowe.
You're gonna see some serious shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 113 of Journey into Comics. Today, I'm your host, Nate. As always, joining me, my co-host, Brando. How's it going?
It's going, man. Hopefully my internet connection holds out.
Yeah, we've been playing around with some technical difficulties pre-show here.
Yeah, man, but that's kind of the name of the game when we do. I think we've only had a couple shows that have really had to be scrapped due to internet connections. The fabled part 1 of Watchmen Comic Club last year was one, and then I want to say, oddly enough, the season finale of Walking Dead last year, when it was going to be me, you, and our buddy Wes.
Wes couldn't do it. There were really bad storms.
It was something, man. My internet was pretty bad all weekend, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. We were watching we were watching like WrestleMania like an hour behind, I think.
Yeah, because we just kept having connection issues,
and then we had to watch The Walking Dead at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That was an awesome time, though, Brando. Can I just say, like.
I mean, it was cool because there was the girls were so tired, but then they were so into The Walking Dead too. And I just remember looking over and seeing everyone's face because Wes and Rob, Gretchen were there, and Caitlin was there, and they were all like glued to the TV, like intense, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I mean, you just lock eyes and we're just smiling ear to ear, seeing Negan come to life.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. That was amazing. Like, pissing our pants yet? Oh, yeah. Man.
I got a feeling we're getting close.
Oh, and you know what? It's like some sort of bizarre time warp now. We've like connected the timeline because now we've literally segued the show into what the show is this week.
I know, and I really didn't mean to.
We're gonna talk about what happens on the other end of that season finale back in April. I'm scarred to start with. I talked to you about this off air. This is maybe the most intense episode of television ever. I think this, without even taking a second glance, blew past the Red Wedding, which I didn't know if that could ever be topped in regards to like utter shock and like the amount of terrible that you can do on a screen that can just like emotionally mess with a person. But Brando, we see issue 100 of The Walking Dead come to life, and I got to get your reactions, man. Just right out of the gate, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Well, that's good.
I kind of called Negan's speech at the end of last episode, like, man, that was like this show's Breaking Bad moment.
Uh-huh.
And I mean that by not saying that I'm not saying that Walking Dead is as good as Breaking Bad, because I don't think it is, because they're two separate entities. But Breaking Bad achieved a point in storytelling that I don't think many shows can capture.
I agree with you, no question.
I think Game of Thrones is up there with it, but it's different. Walking Dead can be that good, but then Walking Dead can also be the opposite and be like totally boring and bad. But I felt like, when I say Breaking Bad moment, there's so many moments in Breaking Bad that are intense and very quotable.
I agree with you.
And there's a lot of them. And for the first time, I really feel like, with the whole Negan speech at the end, that was this show's Breaking Bad moment. And it was like, wow, it was awesome. It was intense. His delivery was off the chart. I read something, and I'm not sure if this is true, but Jeffrey D. Morgan shared a story, and I read it on Facebook or whatever, saying that his agent called him. Was it like maybe probably at this point, year and a half ago, or whenever they were going to cast Negan, and said, "Hey, well, we got a call from the guys at The Walking Dead. They want you to come in and maybe read for a part for bad guy." And he goes, "Holy shit, is it Negan?" And the guy goes, "I don't know. They didn't say any names. They're trying to keep it a secret." And he goes, "Fuck yeah, it's Negan. I'm doing it."
I saw that too. It's super awesome.
So he's a fan before becoming involved with it. Like, he knew exactly. And that's the thing, is that I think he understands the character. I don't read Negan the way that he portrays him.
No, me neither.
But I love it at the same time because he's so suave.
Yeah, and he can
he can switch. It's almost like bipolar.
Yes,
Just be insanely sadistic, and that's more than fine with me. The thing is that over the summer, the F-bomb take of that scene came out, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a love letter to the comics. And unfortunately, the only version I've been able to see, because I don't own the Blu-ray, is like some person watching it on their Xbox and then like them filming it on their phone. Ugh. But it changes the tone, because they're like, when you say F-bomb this, F-bomb that, it changes tone. It changes, like, because I want to say there was a line where you said, you killed a lot of my men, a shitload of them, more than I'm comfortable with. But then the other one, it's like, you killed a lot of my men, a fuckload of them, more than I'm fucking comfortable with. It instantly, like, that extra added oomph. It's like, he's pissed.
Yeah.
And the other one, you can kind of tell he's pissed. But in regards to this, it's like, if that scene was the Breaking Bad moment, I kind of feel like this episode was its Breaking Bad episode, where you get that episode where the whole thing is like diving into a psyche. It's at times just as intense as that one 10-minute scene was. It's just as shocking. And then like what Breaking Bad did so good with Walter at times, diving into his psyche, they did that with Rick in this episode. And I felt like it was exactly what it needed to be. Now, I mentioned something to you the other day, last week, in fact, that I may have stumbled across something that because I've been watching and reading theories, getting ready for the episode, a lot of them, and I thought that was fun, because it was almost like reigniting my brain into thinking mode for the episode. And then I saw something that was just so well thought out and so well done that I'm like, holy shit, I think this is a script leak. If this person made this up, they know how the show works. And I'll be damned, they didn't make it up. It was that episode.
Really?
Yes, 100%. The only thing that was a bit wrong about it is that when Rick is imagining everybody getting Lucille, like when he's like stumbling and fighting the walkers, they mentioned that he was seeing like a party at Alexandria, which we actually saw that at the end of the episode or later on. So that bit was off. Everything else, everything was spot on. And we started the episode a little bit later than what we would have wanted. We were finishing up dinner, and so I started like 20 minutes late, and I got a text from my buddy Matt, because we had talked about, because he gave me his theory, and then I said I had one, but I don't know if I want to tell you because it could be true. And he goes, well, you have to tell me. I'm like, well, shit, all right. But I told him, and then I didn't even think about it, dude. I got my phone buzzed. I looked at it, and the light was blinking, and I'm like, oh, it's a Facebook notification. And no, it was a freaking text, and all it said was, you were right.
Oh, Man, it got spoiled for you.
You know what? As soon as the episode would have started, I would have known.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
well obviously.
but I mean, it was still fun to see it play out, because it was a really good episode and it played out better than what I imagined.
Well, I have a lot to say about this episode, Brando. And I'm not really sure where we should start. Part of me wants to start at how, what's the word? Mirrored it was to the comics.
Yes,
While
they
while they
lately
go
they've
ahead.
been doing a good. I was just going to say they've been doing a really good job here lately of um, keeping a good dynamic of having a lot of stuff that isn't in the comics and making its own thing, but then taking panel for panel, word for word, interpretations. Like it blew me away. Like last season with with Negan's speech, how much of that was dead on,
I mean, he was just
and then
quoting.
yeah, quoting, yeah, giving it. They just took, but they didn't. I mean, there was a few things that were different, but a lot of that was just word for word, and that's awesome to me because as a fan of the comic, uh, I almost enjoy this show differently than what I did before I read the comic because I get excited to see what they do different, and I also get excited to see how are they going to bring this scene to life.
Exactly.
And that really really excites me because part of this episode wasn't even, well, it was all brand new content,
Correct.
and so that was great and it fits. It's really awesome to see how the guys at Kirkman, he helps write the shows as well, how they can take what he's already done and say, how can we improve it, how can we make it fit our show, since our show isn't necessarily what the comic is. It's a little different. And the characters are a little different. They're in different places. Michonne in the show is nowhere like she is in the comics. And so it's awesome to see that kind of dynamic change, and then how something like as simple as, well, Abraham gets the arrow in the comics. He did not in the show. That changed it to where he was in the lineup, when he's not in the lineup in the book.
And that makes it where Negan can show how serious he is and teach them an actual lesson because he says that the first one's free or whatever, but then Daryl really really fucks up big time and tries to
who's
go.
also who's also not in the comic either. So that's another dynamic because
Correct.
what he did was so Daryl.
Correct. Just Cavalier went and punched the fuck out of Negan's face.
It's like he didn't stop and think. He was kind of careless. He was so pissed off. He was pissed off because of what had just happened. But then he was also pissed off that even after that happened, about how Negan was treating Rosita.
Yeah.
So it was like he exploded. He's like, stop. I'm going to fucking kill you for this. And maybe he knew it was a suicide move, but he just couldn't sit there anymore.
Well, and he didn't think that Negan, if Negan kills him, he died trying, whatever.
Right.
But he didn't expect what happened to happen.
No.
And this goes back to, and we're going to kind of float in and out of this for pretty much the majority of talking about this episode, but this flows back into the comics. Now, there's a little bit of a difference. Obviously, the setup to get Negan's final victim in this episode, which is spoiler alert, big spoiler alert, spoiler. I don't know how the fuck people don't know, though. That's all I'm saying. But he's gonna kill Glenn, and panel for panel, moment for moment, shot for shot, and it fucked me up, dude. Like I knew what was coming, and we mentioned this off air, but I knew what was coming in this episode. I told the girls like, hey, it's gonna get rough before it gets any better, and it's gonna be the most brutal thing you ever see. And I did not realize how haunting my words are now to myself, because I didn't even give myself any kind of buffer, you know? And then I just got in the episode and I was just in it going, "Oh, this is so good. Like this is great." Cuz they're not giving it away right away. But then when they got to that moment, dude, like honestly, I was told to shut the episode off. So I did. And my viewing experience probably a little different than yours. So I shut the episode off and we went and did other things, and then got up the next morning and they were like, "Hey, we don't want to watch that, you know?" And I'm like, "All right, we're not going to watch that. I'll watch it while I make coffee." So I turned it on, I went to the kitchen and I watched it. And I watched the rest of it play out. And I have more to say on that later, but just to stay on the Glenn thing right now. I mean, I think the hardest thing for me, Brando, in this was actually hearing him try to talk to Maggie. Like,
Yeah.
I could deal with the gore all fucking day, but it like got me, you know?
Well, they've done such a good job in the show, very like driving it home to the fact that like they are so close
Yeah.
that nothing will keep them apart. And in fact, there's a line change there from the comics that fits the show so much. "Maggie, I will find you." Because that was all, that's kind of the thing. Every time they get separated, they do whatever they can to find each other.
Yeah.
And now they're about to be separated again.
Yep. Ugh.
And oh no, it is heavy. It is heavy. And so it's like as soon as the episode, like when, you know, my buddy told me that I was right, or what I'd heard was right, and we get into this and Abraham is selected. Did you notice the little hand gesture that Abraham did right before he got hit? I do believe that at that point we're still looking at it from Rick's point of view.
Okay.
And Negan's about ready to hit him, and of course Abraham is like standing straight up or on his knees, right? Like do it, you know. If it's going to be one of us, let it be me. You know, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And you see him with his hand out, giving the peace sign.
The peace sign?
Yeah, the first two fingers. Him and Sasha kind of did that to each other.
Oh.
He's saying goodbye to Sasha.
Ooh, that's dark. That makes that even more emotional. Damn.
Oh yeah, that's deep. And see, the thing is that the first one, it was really smart how they did it. Some people might bitch that it wasn't Daryl. I was saying last year that it should be Daryl, because that's the big gut punch, and that's gonna, you know, kill ovaries across the country. But in a way, it's like with Abraham, he was spared the death of the arrow to get a more fitting death. Like his death in the comic was very snap, boom, done.
Yep.
Big guy down. This one, he's like, you know, he made it his mission to let Negan know that you can't fuck with me. I'm not afraid of you.
Suck my nuts.
Yeah, and then I mean, they even gave him one more Abraham line to say, you know, when they didn't really have to. And he went down. And to him, I could definitely see the character saying, "Good. I'm glad it was me and not Carl or Maggie or Rick or Sasha or Rosita or Eugene." Abraham has grown so much as a character that he would willingly give his life for anybody in that group.
Correct.
And for him to get picked, you know, in a way, earlier on, like in the previous episode, when he's walking down the line and Abraham perks up, like, "What you gonna do?" You know, it's almost like he's asking for it.
Yeah.
He would much rather it just be him. And so when the people who didn't like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, "Yep, okay, yep, we're getting two." My wife did not know, by the way. Caitlin did not know.
Oh,
So I got to see her reaction. Yeah.
okay. Can we unpack that on air? Is that
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was just a matter of, okay, so they're showing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it's Abraham, and she goes, oh, she goes, and then she's kind of like, I'm not that sad about that. And then we see it, and she goes, and then it was disturbing to watch. It's funny because we're eating dinner watching this, by the way. You say it like made you feel sick and like you messed you up, and we're sitting here stuffing our faces.
I think I
Um,
might have been doing better if I was eating, honestly. But I was just like sucked into the episode, so I had been taken, I was in the adventure, essentially.
yeah, dude, like we made a dry run of our Thanksgiving dinner
Ooh.
because I smoked the turkey breast on the grill.
Hot.
Oh man, that's so good. Anyway, sitting there eating a roll and just seeing Abraham get his head smacked in, and then so I know what happens after that. I didn't know that he was necessarily going to do what he did with Rosita, but I knew Daryl was going to hit him. As soon as Daryl hit him, I'm like, "Yep, here we go." And then of course Caitlin lost her shit. No, because she thought instantly he's going to kill Daryl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. And then when he said, and it played out so much better than how I had heard it. Because I didn't know the line, right? I didn't know the setup or any. I really only knew. I knew Abraham said, "Suck my nuts."
Classic.
Okay.
Classic.
I knew that. I knew that he said that, but I didn't know a lot of the lines, right?
All right.
I knew some of the lines from later on the episode too, with the whole Rick and Carl thing. So I knew some lines about that, but I didn't know any of the lines here. So then when he said, "So back to it," crack, and she goes, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then when he set up and they recreated the comic scene with the eyeball and the crushed skull, and then him saying the and I'm like, yes, this is amazing and seeing this play out. The thing is that there were so many people saying, well, it can't be Glenn now because of how much they've toyed around with killing him last season. I'm like, no, that's why it's perfect.
Exactly.
Because now he wasn't the first one chosen.
Nope.
He is the retaliation.
Yep.
And then we lost two characters. One, like irreplaceable character in Glenn. No offense to Abraham. Abraham was just starting to get to that point.
Exactly.
With the group where it's like he'd been there for 3 seasons. Give him like another season, and he would have been a part of the core group, And right as soon, and I want to say within the last season, he started becoming popular with people.
Yeah.
Whereas before, maybe he'd been missable. So then to see that play out and how disturbing it was, and then to hear Negan say the line from the comic, bunch of pussies. I'm just getting started. And see, the thing is that when you read the comic, I don't know about you, Nate, but I don't always read it and act it out. Sometimes I just read it.
Yeah, the dialogue's
Every
more
once in a while,
important.
I hear. Right. So when you hear Jeffrey Dean Morgan breathing heavy, grunting as he's still swinging and hitting the mush of Glenn, and you get that shot with the headlight silhouette, and the blood just like squirts up.
Kind of reminded me of Sin City a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And then, then they showed him laying there with his head mush and his left hand twitching. Yeah, I'm like that. I'm so surprised that they were able to show that on television.
They went there, and it was awesome.
And
it was awful.
I did. Oh no, it was awful, and it was great. Because it had. This is what this episode had to be.
Exactly.
It had to go this far. It had to they're not just introducing the next governor or the next hunters or terminus guys or whatever, or the wolves. They're not just introducing the next villain or the next challenge. They're introducing the next big character. It just so happens that he's a fucking prick and an asshole villain.
Well, but technically, and I wanted to say this, if we take it back into season 6 for a minute and replay out this story a little bit, Rick fired first. To Negan, Rick is the bad guy. But to Rick's group, and from our perspective, because we've been watching from Rick's perspective, they're the good guy. And I love it. It made you forget. People saw how fucking far Negan went, and they weren't even thinking about last season. No one's talking about, well, it was Rick's fault first. Everyone's talking about how it was so fucked up and that it shouldn't have been on TV. Which is crazy. It was great. It should be on TV. It's an art. It was beautiful. It was disgusting. It made you feel things. That's what it's supposed to do. It's called being a fucking human. You're supposed to feel shit, you know?
Well, like what was funny is that so they had Talking Dead on afterwards, and it was a 90-minute Talking Dead with the whole cast there.
Whoa, I haven't seen it.
And they were live outside at like the Hollywood Cemetery. And they said that as soon as the first death happened, it started raining.
Whoa.
And then at some point, I can't remember who did it, but one of the cast members cussed, and they said the F-bomb, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, it was on like a couple second delay, so they nipped it, right? And then, someone's like, "Oh crap, I can't say that, can I? I forgot live TV." And Harwick's like, we just saw two guys get their brains bashed in. I'm sure we can handle an F-bomb or two. We're adults.
Yeah, for real.
But this was brutal for cable television.
I mean, is this the step up? Like, is this where the crazier shit starts to come on TV because of this moment?
Well, see, I saw an article where some conservative groups are pretty upset that this made it to air, and that they want to kind of do the whole. It's hilarious because if you follow politics at all, conservatives are usually more about less regulation, but as far as this, they want more regulation, and they want to regulate what can be put on television as far as like censorship and whatnot. I kind of see stuff on TV going, and like it's always been like a seesaw. It's been up and down. We've had really violent stuff in the past, or I remember in the 90s when it was a big deal that NYPD Blue said the word shit or showed a bare ass on television. And that was like, oh my God, so risque.
The classic South Park episode with 62 shits.
Yes, that's what inspired it. I mean, but then we get this where you mentioned the Red Wedding, and in a way, I mean, both scenes are inherently violent. I mean, you have a pregnant lady get stabbed in the belly. That's pretty bad. But I think in a way, like, this was just more brutal, straight up brutal. Because not only is there the two big brutal deaths, but then there's all the mind fuckery going on as Negan's trying to break him. I love the scene, and I mentioned this. I think I mentioned it like in the last episode when we played the like the clip. How right after, and now we know it's like right after he kills Glenn, and everybody at that moment is like that whole lineup is like pissed off, broken, scared, and Rick, while he was already like scared and like, oh my God, what's happening to us? He goes back into man up Rick, right? And it's like, what do I got to lose now? And he looks up and says, I'll kill you. And then that's when Negan stares at him and just goes, like, says, Jesus, like, you're still not broken. You're not done. Not like I didn't just kill one of you, I killed two of you. and of course we get that whole scene. But I love that when we get the after part of that, when they're in the RV and Negan's like, "I'm gonna kill you, not today, not tomorrow." He's just making fun of him. I love that.
That whole thing, and we can talk about this now a little bit. That whole scene with the RV, Rick, but I mean, in between the flashbacks and whatnot, Negan takes him, and it's go get my hatchet,
Go get my axe.
and
My axe,
my axe, yeah.
not yours.
And then Rick's on top of the RV, and then that's when the flashback happens when they play out what happens with Glenn.
Yeah.
And we get the paint of blood on Rick's face splattered from Glenn, which is really gross to think about.
It was Abraham.
That was Abraham. You're right. You are right.
Well,
because he was
Negan,
closer to Abraham.
Well, it wasn't from the hit. It was from Negan swinging the bat around after he had done it.
That's right.
And it like splattered the blood on him.
But I just wanted to say that like Rick's on top of the RV, and then we're staring at the walker from the end of season 6 that was hung.
Mm-hmm.
And he jumps for it, and things are just going to go south. And I was just waiting, going, okay, so here comes the seed. The first time Negan can tell Rick that he didn't kill him when he could have. It's the first time he's going to be able to lord it over Rick that he should have just let him get eaten by walkers. But he doesn't. And he takes him out and helps Rick or whatever. And, like you said, he makes fun of him. So now, this is really where I want to get into is once they get back to camp. No one's moved. There are still, the dead bodies of Glenn and Abraham where they were left. And everyone everyone looks beyond, like, emotion. Like, they look like they have cried, and their face might be making the motion of crying, but the physical act of crying can't happen anymore. And they're just done. And, like, Eugene looks fucking terrified. Carl looks scared shitless. Maggie looks completely, utterly broken. Utterly. I mean, just devastated. And you could not think for 1 second this episode could go any more extreme. And then they turned it up, in my opinion, a notch. And this was where, emotionally, they were just testing everyone, going, okay, you thought that was bad, just wait. Because Negan's a mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
He plays games. He knows how to break people. He knows how to take people down. And to start, when he takes Rick back to camp, he goes, Rick, do you know why we went on our little drive? And, Rick just keeps giving him that look. And he's like, see, I don't like how you're looking at me. That's the whole point, is it's like you don't even care that I'm trying to fucking prove a point here. Just let me fucking win.
He said, you keep giving me that look like I just shit in your scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but just to get into it, and I got to get your feelings on it. They bring Carl down in front of the group. He gets a tourniquet on his arm, which is Negan's belt. Negan draws a line on Carl's hand, and in my head I'm going, perfect. Instead of Rick losing a hand, it's going to be fucking Carl. Interesting. I like how this is going to play out, And then they just got, like, psychopathic, Because Rick, starts to kind of break a little bit, and he says, please don't cut off his hand.
Do me. Yeah.
Or, yeah, do me. Yeah, he's begging me. He's like, you're going to do it. He just so cavalier's like, I'm not fucking doing it. You're going to be doing it. And then he tells him
before they got out of the RV, Negan cleaned off
That's
Rick's
right.
axe with alcohol to sort of like sanitize it, And he wiped all the blood and guts off of it onto Rick's jacket. I thought that was funny. And and then he's like, he gives them like because after this whole thing, Rick's just been sitting there like at the table, and Negan hands him the axe and goes, "I think you're gonna. I got a feeling you're gonna need this." Oh man, knowing that I got kind of spoiled before it happened, knowing that this scene was coming up, I was like, that is so bad.
It's so fucked up. Oh man, I was just like, no way. And I mean, he's doing the count, you know. Rick pulls up to do it, and my heart's racing a million miles a second. I was like, oh my God, you know, and Carl's laying there, just do it, Dad. It's okay, just do it. And you're just like, whoa, that is next level real shit that we're talking about here. And then he doesn't make him do it. And now it's another thing that Negan can lord over Rick's head.
And it will, like, because what I loved is, like, Andy Lincoln did such a good job here in that.
Snotted all over the fucking place.
Oh, man, it's not bubbling all. Him faced with his, like, he's got to harm his kid. And
unimaginable.
And I just love how he's freaking out, like hyperventilating, right? And then, like, when Carl says, do it, you know, do it. And Rick's like, would do it?
Yeah,
then, you know, he didn't say that, but you could just see it. And then he grabs the axe and he puts it up, and he, you know, instead of bringing it up and bringing it back down, he holds it there like, I can't, you know, he's getting ready to do it. And that's when, like, right before he does it, like, instead of grabbing his arm or anything, Negan just kneel down and goes, Rick. And, you know, Rick is kind of snapping out of it now, like, what? You know, he's like, you know, you belong to me. You deliver for me. And then you just see Rick, like, nodding. And it's like, it's such, like you said, they took it to a whole nother level.
I mean, they broke Rick Grimes.
And in a way, I'm so glad that they did that scene, because it's almost, I want to say that I think the TV Rick needed this to get broken.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm saying that the TV Rick is more hard-boiled and more edgy than the comic book Rick, which
I agree with that.
I kind of feel like the comic book Rick shows more emotion. I think we've already seen this Rick. We follow this character for 6 seasons, 6 years of television.
Yep.
You know, come into this world, try to be the altruistic good guy, lose Lori, like, had to kill his best friend,
descending into madness,
and then he stopped and he saved himself, and then they spent all that time on the road, and he got mean. You know, he knows how to survive. He's a hard ass. And now he's sitting here, like, at this group, and he blames himself. I guarantee you, he blames himself for what happened to Abraham, and even Glenn.
I mean, he lambs to the slaughter, man.
But then, like, even after those deaths, he's still hanging on to that. You know, I will, like, he tells him, I will kill you. And you just, like, none of that shit would have happened if he wouldn't have said that.
Yep.
You know, maybe something else would have happened. Maybe Negan wouldn't have still liked the way he was getting looked at, but he said the words. He showed Negan that, you know, this isn't over. And Negan's like, it's going to be over. When I'm done with you, it's going to be over.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if it wasn't, because then it was like they just packed up and moved out. You know, it's like, all right, let's go home. You know,
one of those trucks is yours. You're gonna have to be moving this shit.
Yeah. And then use it to haul the shit that like that you're gonna give to me. And then note that one of Negan's guys went up to Glenn's body and took a Polaroid.
What?
Did you not notice that?
I don't think I saw that.
Like when all the guys are, like, leaving and the trucks are taking off.
Okay.
And Rick and his guys are just sitting there.
Yeah, they aren't moving.
One of Negan's guys walks up with the Polaroid and like takes the picture, starts like shaking it to like to develop. And Glenn and Heath found the Polaroids of all those beat up, mashed up bodies.
Yep, they sure the fuck did.
And yeah, there was another little thing that I noticed that was I haven't seen the episode multiple times, but I've seen the death scene multiple times now. When Daryl attacks Negan, and all that shit happens, Rick kind of like twitches and freaks out, and then he looks over to his left at Carl, or just over there. But Carl's over there. Why would he do that?
I'm not sure.
What did Negan say before he beat up Abraham? Anybody moves.
Oh, yeah. Grab the kid, cut his other eye out, and feed it to his father.
So he was looking over to see if anybody was going to grab Carl. There's a lot of little stuff in this because they just sat there and watched him kill Abraham. So Rick is like not putting anything past this guy now. He said that, and the thing is that I think Rick knows that Negan means business, and what he says is his word. But I still think that even after that, he was so pissed off. He was so pissed off that he thought, once this is all over, once we regroup, I can kill this motherfucker.
Well, and we'll see. Now, Brando, there are other checkerboard pieces in play that we haven't even really discussed. But now's a good time. So, in the comics, around, I think it's issue 105, we get to me, it's one of the most important setups in the comic for stuff that happens much later down the road, and I'm talking time jump and whatnot. But Carl stows away in one of Negan's vehicles and goes to the sanctuary and tries to take out as many men as he can, which is a horrible plan, and it goes really fucking badly. And he gets captured, and then there's that whole thing, right? But now in the TV universe, they didn't say they aren't going to do that. I'm not saying that they won't do that exact same thing. Which again fosters a very interesting and bizarre relationship between Negan and Carl. But Daryl has been taken by Negan and is essentially being pushed into being a savior.
I think them having Daryl might actually be one of the reasons why Carl goes.
Oh.
Because I think there's something that I want to talk about.
Sure.
And that was when Negan, I believe it when he was killing Glenn, they did the looks at everybody's face, right?
Uh-huh.
And Carl's was one of like horror and anger.
Yes.
How could you? And Carl was someone that throughout all of this, even though he was scared, even though, he was afraid of Negan, he was trying his hardest not to show it. And they mentioned that, they addressed that in the season finale last year.
Loosen up, kid. At least cry a little.
Just cry a little, Yeah, I mean, it was addressed, and then it was, when he asked Carl to get up there and do that, Carl wasn't afraid of him. He was acting like he wasn't afraid of him. Or at least he wasn't letting it show. So I kind of feel like when did you see the little preview for for this season on The Walking Dead?
No.
Okay.
Should
One
I
of the
or no?
Oh no, I mean it doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't give you anything
Okay.
that is going to give anything away. They purposely do that but one of the lines was Rick was in the church or like like in Alexandria, right, where
Yep.
they have their little meetings and stuff. And then he goes, I'm not in charge anymore. Negan is. Then later on, right after all the saviors leave, and they're just still sitting there. And really, it's like, what do you do? It's like, who's going to move first, right? It's like, well, it's over. And Maggie's the first to move. Of course, they're like, no, don't. You need to, and even Rick's like, you need to sit down. And obviously, she's done sitting.
Yeah.
She is absolutely done. And she's like, we need to go. We need to get ready or something like that. For what? And he goes, to fight them. And Rick's like, they got an army. You got Daryl. And that's the thing, is that I think that them having Daryl is going to be another thing to kind of keep Rick away from wanting to go into this fight right away. And maybe that could be a reason why Carl
Goes solo.
goes solo to try and save the day. Maybe. The thing is that I loved, since they did kill Glenn, since they did do that, and now Maggie's going to become who she's going to become.
Uh-huh.
Like she rose up immediately and was the first person to show strength.
Uh-huh.
And showing thematically that it is Glenn's death that drives her even more so. It was Deanna, and now it's Glenn, where she has to stand up. And I think she's going to be a leading force, be reckoned with at the hilltop, no doubt. I love the ends part of this, when they're now that it's almost like now they have time to grieve. They have time to take care of their wounded. Well, dead.
Yeah.
Not wounded.
I
They're not wounded.
I don't know if you can repair those wounds, Brando.
I'm not. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if you'd be able to push his eye back in and mend the skull. As you said, hearing him mumble and try to say the words, but he couldn't say them. Like, can you just put yourself in Glenn's shoes?
No. That's what messes me up so hard.
And then, you look over and you see someone that you care about, and you just, this is your last moment, and you just want to tell them how much you feel or something,
Yeah.
But you can't even speak. The words won't come out because your brain's fucked up.
Don't say that so happily, Brando. You were like, your brain's fucked up.
I mean, from that point of view, it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it absolutely is horrific.
Which leads me to believe that I'm sorry, but it leads me to believe that the next episode is not going to cover any of the aftermath of this at all. I think, and honestly, it's like, as much as we want to see what happens directly next, they have a habit of doing that, where they just kind of like, all right, you guys need a break, so let's go see what's going on over here.
Well, I mean, if I'm making predictions, Maggie's going to go to the hilltop. Like, imminently. They're going to send her to the hilltop to get help. Because she's still got something wrong with her. A baby.
Yeah.
Probably. Which isn't really wrong, but
A baby.
So, damn it, Brando.
Now, see, okay, we mentioned how, like, that little scene of Maggie, have we mentioned that at all on air, or we did that all
No,
before
we
air?
did that off air, which that was a different kind of effed up.
Okay, so they released, or they didn't release, it got leaked, the Maggie death scene, the alternate, something that I called for last season. I said, if you're really going to make it different from the book,
Kill her.
kill Maggie. And of course we see, like, as soon as he declares Maggie it, Glenn yells out and speaks out and then gets hit. He gets smacked. I assume he gets hit with a crossbow. And then Negan says his lines, smacks Maggie, says his line again, taking it like a champ. She sits up again, spits blood at him, and then gets another hit and then gets killed. Now, I would have written that just a little differently,
Yeah.
I would still have Glenn get hit, because I don't know what Glenn says. He did, because the clip we got's very bad. It's very bad quality. He just kind of sounded like he was just like spouting out blah 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 blah, and then got hit, right?
Yeah.
But I would have had him say, "No, don't. She's pregnant," and then have Negan hesitate and go, "Whoa, you for real?" He's like, "Shit, you know what that means? 2 for 1, bam."
Oh,
And then
that would have
so
been.
then you can have, huh?
I was gonna say that would have been the way to do it.
If that was the character they killed,
Exactly.
and it matches with how he with his delivery, with how he did all the other ones too. And then him hitting her, and then have Glenn freak out, and then have him get hit, and then have her set up and do the blood spit, and then have him do it again, and then in a way he murders a baby on live television.
Yep.
And that is like, I think people would have freaked out for that too. Even more like, because you're killing a pregnant woman.
Okay, so then my question, and I'm only asking as a thematically being a devil's advocate and knowing how Negan is. He cracks her once and she's still moving and taking it like a champ. Glenn says what you said he should say about don't, she's pregnant. Negan goes, "Oh, really?" and then swings like baseball style into her gut. Because that's where Negan probably would have went if they would have done that.
Probably.
I mean,
Um,
like pure comic book Negan, just saying.
Well, and that's why I kind of framed it as like he hasn't even hit her yet.
Oh, I gotcha.
When he decides to do it, because comic book Negan would have hit her in the belly second. But therefore, when he says a twofer, and then he just cracks her head, because you kill her, you kill the baby.
Yeah, well,
And so that's the way to do it on television. But they did show a sneak peek for next week's episode.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, they're in a place. I know it's very vague. People are like walking around and doing chores and tending, and Morgan is pushing Carol in a wheelchair.
Oh, they're at the kingdom.
They are indeed, and he's taking her to meet King Ezekiel.
Oh, I'm so fucking stoked.
And so that's why I kind of think that maybe we might get some scenes from the other group, but I would not be surprised if they just kind of focus on the kingdom and focus on these new characters and what's going on with them. And can you imagine as if like after Negan's group leaves, Rick's group, that they head to the kingdom to do a pickup?
Oh man, and then tell him that he brained some Asian kid,
Mm-hmm.
and Morgan and Carol just perk up.
Yeah, like some big red some bitch.
Ugh.
Oh, that's one of my favorite lines. Like we mentioned how Negan made fun of Rick, when after Abraham said, "You suck my nuts," he goes, "Did you hear him?" He said, "Suck my nuts." He was. I was watching a reaction video because I watched a couple of those just to see.
Okay.
And there was a group, there's people sitting in their living room. And then Abraham said that. And a girl said, "What did he say?" And another girl said, "You don't want to know." And then, and then after he was done, Negan's like, "Do you hear what he said?" He said, "Suck my nuts."
So that person heard what was said.
Yeah, but no, I would love for that to happen because that would be the one way to kind of like tie it in
Yeah.
and get that information to those characters. Will that happen? I don't know, but I mean, it. Granted, it has been a long night, so maybe they will go home. But that would what I like. That would be what I would do because that would also give the viewer the information that the kingdom is already dealing with Negan. You know,
Yeah, that they're well aware of Negan.
that they're well aware of Negan and that they have to deal with him as well as the Hilltop. So that would also give Carol and Morgan that information as well, and also they get to meet him or see him, and then that's when they get the information that Rick's group that they've lost people. Maybe maybe he does say some, Big Red and some Asian kid. Maybe he does drop that, and that's how they find out. Or maybe they don't know who they lost, and maybe that drives them. Maybe that drives them to go back to Alexandria because Morgan does say that once you heal up, we're going to head off and go back to Alexandria. As he's pushing her in the wheelchair, and so maybe that would be more, of a let's get back sooner than later to figure out what's going on, and and I have no doubt that Morgan is going to have a talk with Rick, and it's going to be that karma type thing. It's like, see what you did, Rick.
Because you kept him alive.
You went and killed those boys. Now he came and killed us. What are you gonna do about that, Rick?
You do a pretty good Lenny James, man, as Morgan. Just saying. I just want to say this just in. I just saw a meme. It's a picture of Abraham. And it says, "When you died too, but everyone cares about Glenn."
Oh, man.
We're unpacking that here on the show, folks. Brando, I was going to say something. Oh, I don't know if this was official or not, but I ran across a picture, or maybe you sent me a picture. My brain is in a million different places sometimes.
so is Glenn's and Abraham's.
Oh my God, you did not just fucking say that. I can't even talk. This is the worst. Fuck. Okay, I gotta try. Reeling it in. I saw a poster for this season that maybe hinted where we're headed already.
I didn't send it to you.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Okay, interesting. So,
Is it online?
it should be. How you find it, I'm not sure. Maybe search season 7 poster. I don't know. But it looked official as fuck. And it said nothing, but it was just, and you'll know if you read the comics.
I mistyped.
Uh-oh.
I typed in Walking Deaf season.
That's why I have a hard time watching The Walking Dead, because I'm the Walking Deaf.
Oh, dude, it's so bad because I'm hearing like Negan do his whole speech. I mean, I'm hearing him do his whole speech with like that, with like when people with hearing disorders, how like they talk differently, with like their voices and everything. And I'm just that is really bad, and it's very politically incorrect. And I do apologize to anybody who has those deficiencies, but.
I'm trying to find this right now for you, Brando. But it hinted. Well, it didn't hint at anything. I'll tell you what it was. Did I find it? No, of course I can't find it. Now when I'm trying to find it, I'm not going to be able to find it. But all I'll say is it was a head on a spike.
Really?
There it is. There it is.
Well, send it on over.
Unless that's from Game of Thrones, which it kind of looks like it might be too also. Okay.
Well, that might be a problem. It's a different show.
So I'm going to view the original image. Then I'm going to save the image. I've saved the image. We're high-tech motherfuckers here, people. That's how we have to do it. Okay.
Yeah, the show wouldn't be possible without it.
Correct. Why does it seem like anytime you need Facebook to work fast, it doesn't? It just says, "Nah, man, not today. I'm not really in the mood. Thanks."
So, have you noticed that like Facebook won't let you type certain phrases?
What?
I've
No.
been seeing posts about that. It's like somebody said that you cannot type in the comment "you and me versus the world" because it'll say "post failed," and you can't spell the word "and." You have to use the ampersand.
Weird.
I know. It's like that is such a weird thing to censor.
All right, Brando, it has been sent to you.
Oh, yeah. That kind of looks like it's from Game of Thrones.
That's what I thought. I mean, but you got me because I was like, ooh, Whisperers. Looks good. But I think somebody took that image and made a poster, but I can't find it, so.
Now, I kind of feel like that's just a little too soon.
Me too.
Now, have you noticed that Carl has aged so much, but Judith hasn't?
Yeah. Carl's like 8 feet goddamn tall.
Oh man, he is older than what Carl is in the books.
Definitely.
So it's like that's going to need to see that play out. But as far as like the Whisperers, I really don't think that we're ready for that yet. And honestly, I don't think we're getting All Out War until at least middle of next season.
Yeah, draw out Negan a little bit.
Well, that's kind of the way The Walking Dead does it, though. Is like there's so many characters to tell stories with. Like there are times where the show seems to be moving at a decent pace, right? And there are times where they slow it down, and I feel like slowing Negan down to where you don't do All Out War right within the first couple episodes of this season allows you to get to know who he is more than just what we saw, as well as Dwight, as well as Simon. We totally haven't mentioned Simon, Stephen Ogg's character, that Negan's new right hand man.
New in the show, not in the comics.
Exactly. So
makes for an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because I really enjoy Stephen Ogg, obviously. Trevor. In fact, that's what I had been calling him before he was given a name. I gotta say goodnight to my kid.
Okay. Well, I'll riff for a second, folks, if Brandon wants to go do that real quick.
Yep, go riff.
Talking about The Walking Dead, this episode that we were discussing, episode 1 of season 7, was one of those episodes where it's not going to leave your conscience. Like, I'll only ever have to watch this episode once. If I want to, I'll go back and maybe watch it down the road. But right now, I've had my fill. That moment in time has been forever burned into the corneas and the retinas of my eyes. And I don't need to see it again. I don't need to see Glenn trying to say Maggie's name and not succeeding, and it just be so helpless and painful to watch. It was just a brutal, brutal moment in television. I think this has raised the bar as far as what's going to be on TV now. Also talking about this, they did a phenomenal job, as we've been mentioning, doing things from the comics in and out. We did not mention how he calls Lucille a vampire bat, which is such an important line in this issue of the book and then also in this episode of the show. So I just think that they're doing a really, really fantastic job with Negan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan portraying Negan. I feel that as we move on throughout this season, that shit's just going to get more real. And I'm really looking forward to the time in this show, as long as this show can continue to run, which doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. I would really love to see Negan actually become somebody everybody's talking about because they like him so much, as he is in the comics, because I feel like he's one of those very interesting characters where you start off hating him so much with everything you have, you can't stop hating him. But the more and more you learn about him, and the longer and longer he's a part of the chess game, the more and more you're like, Negan is perfect, and I need him, and he's a very strategic character to have, and there's a lot of good that can come from him, and sometimes just enough crazy is just enough, you know? That being said, this was an episode where it was mostly serious. We had the suck my balls thing, or my nuts, not Cartman, suck my balls, but suck my nuts, Abraham. And, to me, if we're just, breaking it down, I feel like this season has an opportunity to get really more funny as the season plays out. Because I think right now it's going to be very serious tone, very dark. Things have hit the blackest of black. We're at the rock fucking bottom of where Rick's group could go, aside from them all being dead. And, instead of it being that way forever, Negan can slowly start to build the comedy aspect of this show. And it doesn't have to be a ha-ha comedy. But at some point, people are going to break and start going, man, this Negan, he's fucking funny. There's something about him that's funny. And I know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan can deliver that. He's already delivered that in smaller scales, with, as Brando was saying, the making fun of Rick and all those things. So, to me, just throwing it out there, this show has earned a lot of my respect and also scared a lot of people. A lot of the people that don't know the source material are really pissed off about this episode. A lot of people who know the source material, but they didn't actually read the source material. They just, someone told them or whatever. They're all kind of saying the same thing, that it was too much. It was too gory. And as a comic book fan, we all bitch and clamor and say, hey, I want it to just be like the book. If they could just do it panel for panel, shot for shot, like the book, everything would be great. But they don't. People bitch because it was too much like the comic. It was too gory. It was too real. It was too violent. And I think that, take it or leave it, man. We get this shit on TV. We get to see things that we read and that we love come to life on the screen in different forms and fashions, whether it be The Flash or whether it be Arrow or Supergirl or, Gotham or The Walking Dead, obviously. We're lucky enough to live in a time where, look at all the content you have as a person to fucking watch if you're a nerd. Like, it's a great time to be alive and to be a nerd, and that's all I got. Brando, are you back?
I am indeed. Well spoken.
Thank you. All right. So, Brando, I got to ask, do you think like they start setting up All Out War like maybe the season finale? Or do we get, like you initially said, now that you kind of have seen the tone, do you think that as you initially had thought, maybe at the mid-season we start the All Out War stuff?
I was sort of thinking that things start heating up. If I were to do it, I would spend the first half of this season getting where Rick is going to go meet the Kingdom, and then and Ezekiel, and they start doing the conflict stuff. So there's 8 episodes to do that in. Will they get it all done? Maybe, maybe not. But mean, All Out War is a major storyline. And maybe, just maybe, dude, we don't get it till next year.
I mean, that would be interesting.
Because they could book the entire series book. Really, that's but they could market the entire next season 8, All Out War. Rick versus Negan.
That's true, and that's a big event type thing. I just worry that they draw it out too long. I mean, I know it's Negan, and the more Negan we can get, the better. But at some point, the more Negan means the more you have to keep turning up the ante because of how batshit crazy he is. So then you get in this kind of Russian roulette type thing where, okay, well, now we have this major baddie. He's showed people he's serious. How long does Rick just kind of lie down and take it from Negan? How long until he starts standing up? How long do you play that out? That's the only thing I'm concerned about, is it slowing down to a grinding pace now that we have Negan. That would be kind of brutally unfair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he also has his own story arc now with Daryl.
That's true.
Which that cracked me up too, dude. What was his name? Daryl. He looked like a Daryl.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I was thinking about that too, because what I mean, there are a couple different ways this could be played out. Dwight now already has this hatred for Daryl, and they have a rivalry, and Dwight is kind of, at least in the comics, the underling of Negan, who's like not quite like a right-hand man, if you will, but more like a lackey, I guess is the word you'd say.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, so now Daryl's there. Well, what if Negan starts to turn Daryl against the group? Like, see, we're not bad here. We believe in what you believe in. It's already going to be on Daryl's conscience that he killed Glenn. You're not going to ever take that away from Daryl Dixon's character in the show. It's his fault Glenn is dead, and that's that. That being said, he could descend into madness and be like, what else do I have to fucking lose? Maybe I should just join this fucking bad guy. I guess I'm a bad guy. I killed a good guy, So I think there's a lot of interesting things at play there.
He went into their compound.
Yes.
With Rick and all those guys, right?
Yes.
And then, so he was involved in that. He blew up their guys with a damn rocket launcher.
Yes, he did. Holy shit, I forgot about that. Start of season 6.
Yeah.
Yep. Boy, what the difference a season makes. Last year it was a rocket launcher that was like, oh, that was pretty. Now it's like, oh, fuck. But do you remember last season? Did you guys see that black car in the background? Yeah, I bet it's Negan, We're scoping it out, excited. Now we have him. Now Negan is real. I mean, it's crazy. He's such a pivotal character, and I was saying this, I don't know if you caught this part while you were away, Brando, but I'm genuinely looking forward to the point where the internet world and the world in general are like clamoring over how much they like Negan. Because at some point he will become a fan favorite. Because that's just the arc of his character. If they keep it anywhere close to in line with how they did the comics, which honestly, the way he is in the comics is what makes him such a dope character. They're going to translate that to the television. At some point, things are going to play out. And I had somebody, I want to talk about this because this is based on the comic books alone. But the other day I had somebody go, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, not like we're going to have to deal with Negan for long. I mean, they killed him in the comics, And I just looked and I was like, no, they fucking did not. He's very much alive in the comics. Don't say that. Why would you say that, So if they follow that path, I just see nothing but great things out of this show, and then it's going to evolve, and then we're going to have to start at some point, maybe season 9, mid-season 8, who knows. Honestly, the way to do it would be to do the back half of this season and the first half of season 8 as all-out war.
Yeah.
And kind of wrap that story up,
That's what I would do, but I mean, I did remember reading that we're actually going to get a lot of like Negan alone time away from Rick's group.
Ooh, that's cool.
Where they're doing something different for the show where they're actually going to go and explore his character a little bit. So like there might be an episode where we just hang out with Negan.
That would be cool. Whose
So
house? Negan's house.
so this season might go a little bit slower as far as like getting to All Out War. Not that the story is going to necessarily be slow with what they're telling,
But that they're taking their
but,
time
like,
to build to that.
yes.
I like that. Because, it is going to take Rick. I mean, Rick's going to have to be broken for a few episodes. I'd say at least to the mid-season finale. At least. And then at some point he's going to have to come out of it. Then once he comes out of it, he's going to have to start getting the alliance together.
Yeah.
And working all those things out. So you're right. It probably won't be until season 8 that they actually do All Out War. And you're right. It would be phenomenal to do just one full 16-episode season with the break, All Out War, finish up with season 8, and then do the fucking don't do the time jump. And then use that, like I said, as a pivot point to decide whether or not you want to slow your TV show story down and let the comics take some time to grow again. Because you're running out of content.
Yeah.
Or if you want to just ignore the time jump altogether and just continue the story forward.
You could ignore it and just have the Whisperers show up earlier.
Exactly.
But then you could do like a smaller time jump. Kind of like what they did in between season 3 and 4.
Yeah, like 6 months.
6 months or a year. Instead of doing what they do, a year and a half or 2?
2 in the time jump. 2 jump. 2 jump. No, 2 years have passed in the time jump.
So like you can do 6 months to a year of a time jump where they've had Negan locked up because dude.
Yes.
Last season, Rick gets all kind of affronted and pissed off that Morgan left that wolf alive.
Yes, I remember that.
And then, even after everything that Negan has done, he's going to follow Morgan's example.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, dude, that's awesome. Oh, man, what if Negan... Okay, future tripping here. Starting to come up with fan theories. What if Negan's final kill before they imprison him is Morgan? And that's why Rick chooses to do what he does. Like maybe he goes to shoot Rick with an infected arrow or whatever, misses and gets Morgan, And he's he's kind of just like, Negan himself is a little taken aback that he fucking missed it. He's just like, what? And then before he knows it, Rick's on him,
And then, there's Morgan, no doubt, dead now or going to die.
Yep.
And then he's like, don't kill him, even after it's all said and done. Yeah, it's like, be better than that, All life is precious.
Oh, you had to say it, didn't you? Rick, all life is precious.
All life is precious, Rick. That killer, that murderer, he saved her, Rick.
That's so good. Oh, Brando, do you have anything else to add on this episode, man?
No, dude, it was great. It was fantastic. I can't wait to build up and carry on. There's going to be a lot of fallout because, we didn't just lose one character. We lost 2.
Yeah.
So, I definitely think that I might be right that All Out War might be a year away because we got to explore the storyline with Sasha and Rosita and Eugene and them dealing with Abraham.
Well, his death very different in the comics. It's not nearly as emotional with those characters, at least, and obviously Sasha is not in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then and then we have Maggie's story. That's probably going to be told in this season about her, getting power in the hilltop.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then her wanting to carry her strength forward.
Gregory.
So it's like I really think there's a lot of story to tell before we get to All Out War. I mean, when you talk about how in comic books, it seems like you can tell this story a lot quicker, but in television, you have like 40 minutes a week to tell it. So it's like it can take a while.
And you have to be strategic.
Yeah, man, you got to put your story together. So they're going to have to build on all these stories that come out of this. Let's introduce new characters from the from the kingdom, revisit the hilltop, get Jesus back involved, and then they say they want to do some new stuff, interesting stuff with Negan. He's going to have a direct story with Daryl, and then Daryl's going to have his story there dealing with his guilt, and then dealing with the saviors. Rick's going to have his story about being broken. Carl's going to have his story about trying to go save Daryl or get even with Negan.
And then that could alternately create an interesting story with Negan and Carl.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's just there's the more I think about it, the more there is so much to do this season that doesn't revolve All Out War.
I agree with you, and I mean, when we flesh it out a little bit, it makes a lot more sense for them to take their time getting through this stuff.
They probably had their best season premiere ever, and I thought that their premiere for season 5 was at the Terminus.
Yeah,
that was off the hook. That was awesome.
The trough of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
And then Carol going in and one woman army,
blowing things to smithereens.
But this outdoes that, and outdoes it in a different way.
See, and that's another thing too, man. 2 ghost characters in the comics are at the kingdom, building very important relationships.
Yeah, and see, the thing is that okay, I saw a picture the other day that has like the season 1 cast, and it had Glenn grayed out. It was like, oh, only 3 left from the original cast. And it was Rick, Carl, and Daryl. I'm like, what about Carol? She's not even in the picture.
Yeah, and Morgan would also, but they're talking about that's really weird though. Carol should be in the picture because she's a part of the Atlanta 6 that's now down to what, 5? Officially?
The Atlanta,
because
it should be
Daryl,
down to 4.
Carl, Rick. Okay, Daryl, Carl, Rick. Who am I missing? Carol. And that is it. It is 4. The final 4.
I don't count Morgan because he was in Rick's hometown. He never
went to Atlanta.
Well, he said he said that he did that they took off, but then by that time Rick and the group were already gone.
Oh, I do remember that when there's like the thing in season 3 where Morgan's all broken.
Cleared. Yeah, the clear episode.
Yeah. Ugh. That episode was fucking terrible. Not terrible bad, terrible good, because it was just like emotionally driven,
Oh yeah.
But man, I'm looking forward to this season of The Walking Dead, Brando. We're just gonna have to see where it goes. We'll cover it as often as we need to on the show. If there's a lull episode, we might not bring it up, but for the most part, we'll probably cover them. It's got Negan in it. It'll be awesome.
Oh yeah, man, it'll be great. Also, I think in a couple of weeks, the next issue comes out, so we'll be looking at that as well. Buddy, you know what? I want to do another comic club.
We need to.
And I know that like all the other guys that we were doing it with are kind of busy. They're living their lives and everything. And one day we will finish Watchmen. Okay,
absolutely.
But that's not the one that I want to do. Okay, because I want to do Dark Knight Returns.
Ooh, I love it. You know what we should do, Brando?
What's that?
Just because I'm thinking about certain scenes from The Dark Knight Returns. What about we plan that for like our Christmassy comic club, and we'll do it like a week before Christmas, and we'll drop it on Christmas.
That'd be badass,
right? I mean, it seems right. Snow and shit.
Yeah, man, that's great. Now, also, I do believe me and you talked about this like a month ago, but Next week, we're actually going to be off. We're not going to do a JIC next week. And I'm going to upload the Sword of Jeopardy episode.
Yes, from Sort of Live.
Sort of Live 7, which was back in April. We recorded it. You, me, and Rob play a round of Nerd Jeopardy with our friend Wes hosting and friend Mike keeping score. It is not necessarily like timey or like time relevant, so it'll be a good kind of episode for us to kind of take that week off from JIC, and also introduce the concept of what we kind of did for Sort of Live, and we might, pop up some new Sort of Lives up on the Journey to Comics YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, and I think it's good to keep expanding. So I'm down. I know me and Patrick have talked a little bit about doing some kind of a music podcast, whether it just be covering bi-monthly or bi-weekly, new tracks that have come out or songs that we're jamming or whatever. But we've kind of tossed that idea around a little bit, so, trying to keep things interesting here at the Journey into Comics family.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm really excited to release this Sort of Jeopardy because it was a fun time, and then it was only up on the Sort of Live feed for a couple months before it ended up getting taken down. We did stop the show for the time being, and so putting it back out there for more people to hear is going to be exciting because it was a fun time.
It was. I had a hell of a time playing and not killing Rob and Gretchen's cat.
Oh,
because I knocked over the kitty. I still feel terrible about that. That cat doesn't even remember, but I do. So that's all that matters. But if that's going to do it for Journey into Comics this week, as always, check us out on all the different social media stuff. You know where to find us. Journey into Comics, Journey into Comics, Journey into Comics. Just search it. Usually, if you can't find us by Journey into Comics, search Journey into Comics Podcast or JIC Podcast. Also, YouTube. Videos and stuff going up. Got Game Addicts Podcast, Foodies Watching Movies, Journey into Wrestling. Brando and I do that one with our buddy Patrick. And then obviously every episode of Journey into Comics you can get there, or you can get it on iTunes. If you're on iTunes right now, do us a favor, 5 stars. Tell us why you like the episode or the overall podcast or what you want differently done, and give us a 1 star. I'm just keeping it 100%. But if that's going to do it this week, I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
And next week we'll introduce Lucille. Later.